Is it like a druid? Sorta, but hotter and cooler.
Druids literally only want one thing, and it's fucking disgusting.
Oh, these? My massive fucking titties? My super stuffed up milkies? My hunger bonger doinky boinkies? My fucking fabric stretching, wind flapping, gravity welling sex mounds? You mean these super duper ultra hyper goddamn motherfucking...
So you want to play the best build in D4 that bad, huh? The kind of build that Beavis and all the cool kids are playing? Sure you do, you dirty dog. But there is a massive problem for you dogshit newbie, because to do it, you need a bunch of uniques and everything in between. And how the hell do we solve that? No worries, my friend, because this is my mid-game build that I personally used to blast through to the endgame as fast as possible and get all of those lovely uniques so I could transition into the best build ever. It works up to Torment 3, assuming you have a fresh Paragon board, and probably Torment 4 as well. But at that point, you should be decked out in uniques, unless you're the most unlucky person in Diablo 4. But not only that, I'll also provide you with this amazing build, and I'll show you how you can build for the endgame version and where you can find all of the uniques making that build work. Because I'm just that great of a friend. All right, so to start us off, how does this version of the build work? Well, shit, glad you asked. We're utilizing Quill Volley to deal big hecking damn, and everything else is simply to boost it, along with solving for resource generation. To do this, we have help from some other skills, namely Counterattack, which we use for massive damage and defensives, Scourge, which we use for, well, shit, the same reasons, Ravager for resources and a free dash, and finally, the Hunter for a buttload of reasons, but mainly for big damn. You can also rock Soar, of course, if you want the extra mobility, but I'm mainly doing that during Hell Tides. For all other content, there are typically enough density to allow for constant dashing between enemies. Here we're also rocking Thrash, because unfortunately without the previous mentioned uniques, we run out of vigor during boss fights despite sorting resources. On elites and packs of enemies, though, it's all good. And when you get the Rod of Kepelek, then you can ditch that shit skill forever. All right, so that's just a bit of the basics. I'm not going to drag this one out, so let's head straight for the gear and aspects that you're looking for here. Starting us off, the helm, the weapon, boots, and one of the rings will be replaced with uniques later on, so I wouldn't worry too much about those. All of the other gear pieces, though, you may as well start prepping for your forever setup. Either way, I'm rocking Might on the helmet for now. For them big old titties, we slap on the Juggernaut's aspect real hecking good, because we want to get the unyielding aspect capped out at 1500. Other than that, you're looking to grab as much dexterity as possible everywhere, along with a buttload of barrier generation as to not fucking die al mao. Vortex size is also another great utility option, but you'll need a particular rune word to use that. For your gloves, grab the retribution aspect. This is a lovely multiplier for us, seeing as we'll just keep knocking enemies down via the Perragon board. Other than that, though, you're looking for core skills along with attack speed and some crit chance. For them pantaloonies, same goes here. We want more armor. It's also important to start grabbing some all resistances as to transition into Torment 3 and 4. As sneakers, a slick pair of Nikes should suit you well, but just in case you bought the Ultimate Edition and ended up a broke boy, then Aspect of Haste will have to do for now. After that, we have the weapon. Here you'll slap on the rebounding aspect real good for the massive multiplier. Other than that, though, you don't need to give that big of a shit since you'll replace the weapon later, but you should temper Quill Volley along with some big damn for now. In this version of the build, we're also solving resources via Rolling Vigor on kill, on the weapon, and rings. Using this, you'll be able to constantly spam Quill Volley without using Thrash on large packs of enemies, assuming they actually die Lamao. When it comes to the amulet, by far the most important stat to get is ranks to potent. This is a 10% multiplier per rank and is just godly. Other than that, dexterity and armor is Gucci as well, along with the unyielding hits aspect. This directly grants you weapon damage the more armor you have, but it's capped at 1500 as stated previously. It's also possible to play without this aspect in the endgame, so if you for some reason get a triple GA amulet with ranks to potent on it, you may want to keep it for now in case you're interested in running a regular armor setup. It's up to you, my man or woman. And finally, the rings. The conceited aspect is godly as will rock a permanent barrier. You also want to temper resource generation, as you'll need this on a ring and amulet in the endgame version. And for the final aspect, I'm rocking the Reaper's aspect for that humongous crit chance, which should get you close to capped, regardless of how shit your gear is. Just lovely. Do remember, though, that once you get the Rod of Kepalika, then you won't need crit chance anymore. Nicely done, my friends. Now for what I promised. Where to find the endgame gear pieces as you're preparing for the endgame. Maxroll has a great boss ladder website for this. I'll link it in the description. For starters, the helm that you're looking for is Harmony of Ebewaka. This one drops from the Beast in the Ice, just south of Kiovashad. This allows you to dish out damage with 3 different spirits at once, along with granting you 90% damage increase. Yes, that's correct. 90. Buff Barb, please, Blizzard. The Rod of Kepaliki is also disgustingly broken, because not only do they transform your core skills into basic skills, allowing for more multiplier stacking, but it also dishes out a 4x multiplier that is guaranteed to crit every time, and that's so disgusting that I barely know what the hell is going on. And this thing even has core skills hit twice. Like what the actual fuck? Either way, this one drops from the diabetic fatty in the gaping asshole just southeast of Gearkul. So show that fatty who is boss and rip him a new one. If you also manage to get some insane Banished Lord's talisman here, then you can also keep those for the ultra big dick Uber setup that I'll show another time. Finally, you'll need the Midnight Sun later on, because Rod of Kepaleka drains all of your resources when it's fully stacked. This one you get from Grégoire. Alright friends, that's the gear. What about the runes then? Well, as I was progressing through the Torment tiers, I was simply using dogshit runes. The best place to farm them are the Uber bosses, and ideally you'd grab the Druid Earthen Bulwark rune as to keep that barrier up permanently, and the Spiritborn Vortex as the pixel pulling of this ability is just godly. We'll also spam core skills and resources, so those are great to use here. And finally, the gems. Here you'll most likely go for diamonds as to cap resistances before you can get yourself a Tyrael's Might and slap on dex in the armor. For the weapon, though, that's where you'll use one of the rune words. When it comes to the Spirit Hall, you're pulling your dick out for Harambe and pulling it back into the cougar. Well, shit, son, will you look at that. Do you even know what time it is? It's skill tree, a fucking clock, and you know it, baby. Starting us off, we drop the per-usual wet fart on the basic skills. But on a second thought, we are actually using it for bossing, so suck that bad boy back in and pick up Thrash. We then go for Quill Volley, along with a bunch of damage nodes all over the place, and Ravager for the Perma Dash. Next, we want Counterattack for the 100% dodge active and 30% damage increase, along with Scourge for big damage and the humongous Vigor generation. After that, we just keep going for passives for damage and defensives, followed by heading down the ultimate tree. Here we pick up just about everything, as the passives here are quite godly. We have damage, healing, vigor, so we can spam out more volleys, and intricacy, which allows us to spam out one of your skills on cooldown. We, of course, trigger it via the Hunter, as it's the most broken ultimate, granting a bunch of damage and having built-in cooldown resets. And finally, the key passive. You can easily keep resetting your skills via Prodigy's tempo. Combine this with the skill resets via intricacy, and you shouldn't have to worry about having anything on cooldown any longer. Well, shit, that's the skill tree. What do you say we check out the Perragons now, shall we? Damn right. I made this Perragon board so that we can rush the legendary nodes and important glyphs. Once you're approaching somewhere around 200 Paragon points, though, then you may as well swap to the endgame version Perragons, as we then start getting massive value from maximum vigor. Right now, though, it's pretty useless, and we'll therefore just rush the highest damage, legendary nodes, and glyphs. Starting us off, we're using Spirit. We will use this in both versions, so you want to level this one up for sure. Next, it's time for revealing. Having a knockdown is absolutely crucial here, as we get a lovely multiplier from the skill tree from it. You also want the Headhunter for massive damage, and sapping down here for big dam and vigor. Next we go for Convergence, and slot in Canny for the damage bonus. After that, it's time for the Viscous Shield, which is yet another lovely multiplier, along with Talon for the damage bonus. And finally, we rock the Fulminate Glyph simply for some additional damage. Nicely done, friends. There's but one thing left to do before we check out how to get good, and that's to fucking sub your legend. Fine, it's two things, because we want to check out the Mercenaries too. Subo knows his shit, allowing for wall hack, and he also provides us with some much-needed crit damage. For reinforcement, however, the Bastion that Rahair provides is just broken strong. And now, it's actually time. Time to get hecking good, that is. Let's do it. If you're using Saw, then you have that skill for mobility whenever you want to use it. I've stopped using it, though, so this is how I'm gaming right now. Each time you pop your ultimate, you'll get free charges in one of your skills. I've started using it on the Ravager, actually, as that makes sure that the dashes are always up. On bosses, though, you want to use either counterattack or Scourge before you pop your ultimate, and ideally as the boss is about to get staggered, as that is when you deal the most damage. Other than that, though, you just press all of your buttons and bash your forehead as hard as possible on the keyboard, and you should, without a problem, clear all content in the game. You should always focus on spamming that quill volley button, and when you can't, you just use Thrash instead. Well, damn, that's all for this one. See ya later, Kings.
Thanks for watching the video, my fellow divorced boomer gamers. Subscribe to Perragaming right now, or I will drop kick your ball sack into the pavement. Yeah, fuck 'em. Watch this video as well, and like and share it right freaking now. Oh yeah, my titties are big and leaking, so I'm milked up. Or UTF, hee hee hee. Fuck Bobby Kotick, you already know it, yeah.